Okay, we are going to learn how to code properly. We're going to use loops and iteration and sequences. All these are important words in computer science. First of all, I'm just going to make a little bit of space by moving my code blocks out of the way. I'm going to replace these 4 code blocks. The when something is pressed, do something. And I'm going to go to the control. Hopefully it's the control, not the events this time. And I'm going to choose this one, forever. And what I'm going to do is pull out this if. Now, this is a loop which is going to go on forever and ever and ever and ever. And this is called a selection. So I'm going to select what happens if whatever's in this diamond box is true. And in this box I'm going to have some sensing. So I'm going to sense what's happening on the keyboard, and notice the shapes. Okay, they've got to fit. So this shape is the one that fits in that box, and that's exactly the one I want. We could use if the mouse was down. I can't use that one because it's the wrong shape, but this is the one that I want. It's very similar to the way these work. So I'm going to choose if the key space is pressed, but instead of the key space I'm going to use if the up arrow is pressed. And if the up arrow is pressed, I'm going to change my Y by 10. So hopefully you understood that. It's very similar to this, and what I'm going to do is drop it inside my loop, and I'm going to do that for each and every single one of these. Now I can get rid of this one because I've lost the coding on it. I'm going to do it for each of these, and they're all going to be inside there. So let's go back to control and get another if. And be careful which one you pull out because there are a couple. There's if and there's if then else. So make sure you pull the right one out. So the second one is let's do the down arrow this time. So get the key spaces pressed, put that in there, and turn that into the down arrow, and then take that code and drop it into there. Then drop all of that inside my big forever loop. Let's get rid of the item. Let's move some space because we're going to run out. The next one I'm going to do is for the right arrow. So go back to control, choose my if, go to sensing. Now we can duplicate these things, so I'm doing it a long way round by doing each one, but you can duplicate them, which might save a little bit of time, but this is good practice. So if the right arrow is pressed, what we're going to do is change X by 10. Didn't drag it out, there we go. And get rid of this piece of code and put that block inside my loop. And finally my left arrow, so go back, go get the if statement, go to sensing, the key, oh there we go, the left arrow is pressed, I'm going to change the X value by -10, get rid of that piece of coding and put that piece of coding in there. So notice that again this is like the jigsaw puzzle as we did with this at the top. We need to complete this jigsaw puzzle. We need to put this event when the green flag is clicked on the top of that block. There we go. So let's check what we've got. When I press the green flag, what's going to happen is that it's going to go to the very start, -191,134, and then it's going to sense which key I press and move it in the direction. It's going to keep doing that forever and ever. So click, there we go. So I'm going to press the down key. Notice that there is a thick yellow line all the way around this block of code, meaning that that is working. So that is waiting to respond to whatever I do. There is no thick yellow line around here, which means it's done its job and finished. So if there's no yellow line around, it's not being used at the moment. If there's a yellow line around, that means it's being used. So I'm going to press my down arrow, and there he goes. He's running down, running right, running up. That's pretty good. Running left. But he's still going through the maze. So before we finish this section, I'm actually going to handle that. So if he touches the maze, I'm going to make him go back to the beginning. I'm going to press the stop. Notice that when I do, the yellow line will not be around this block of code. And I'm going to have one more if statement. And that is if I'm touching this purple stuff, which is the maze. So let's go back to control. Get one more if block out. And let's go to the sensing. And this time I can't have if key space is pressed, but I can have up here if touching something. So I'm going to drag that out, and I'm going to put that in that shape. And when I click on the down arrow, because I named this maze, the word maze appears in here. So I can choose that. Now it makes sense. If touching the maze, then what I want to do is go back to the start. So I need this. I'm not sure if I can duplicate it. Right click. I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm going to put it inside there. So if I'm touching the maze, go back to those coordinates, and I'm going to drag that into my block there. So now my whole forever block does this. It's going to keep going round and round and round and round. It is a loop. It's going to check if the up arrow key is pressed. If it's not, it's going to check if the down arrow key is pressed. If it's not, it's going to check if the right arrow key is pressed. If it's not, it's going to check if the left arrow key is pressed. If it's not, it's going to check if it's touching the maze, and it's going to keep going round and round and round. But this time the difference is if we touch the maze, we're going back to the start. So now we've got a little bit of a game and a little bit of a challenge. So let's press the green flag to go to the start, and you'll see what it means. So I'm going to go down, pressing the down key. I'm going to go there. Now if I move right, my head is going to hit the maze, and I go back to the start. So now you've got a little bit of a challenge trying to get your character around the maze, and I'm not doing very well myself. And there we go. The bottom, going up. Oh, I touched the maze. Now you might want to fine tune this, and we will take a look at that in the next video to make it a bit more playable. So you should save your work. I'm just going to move on to the next video.